Oh, really?
So we're down here today in Christchurch at the Groundswell protest. We're just supporting farmers, chatting with farmers and finding out what has happened to them to create this kind of animosity and this kind of protest against our government. Because as we all know, Kiwi farmers are the last people that would be turning out to protest if they could. They're pretty quiet, pretty chill, they like to keep to themselves. So why are they here and what has got it to this stage? We're talking the SNAs, which are the significant natural areas where large parts of people's farms have been reclassified. They're now not unable to farm it, they can't do anything with it, and the government are not going to pay them for it. It's completely out of control and it's completely undemocratic. You've also got the Three Waters Bill where the government are now stealing the water and the assets off the people, and the farmers are really, really unhappy about that. You've got the ute tax, you've got the carbon bill, the carbon tax. All of these things have labelled farmers in a way where they feel like they're not being heard, they're not being listened to, and they're out today to try and get their perspective out there, which is really encouraging for lots of other Kiwis that feel like they're not being heard right now as well. These roads have been going for a long time. There's huge amounts of traffic driving past us constantly. It's been at least 10 minutes of traffic just non-stop. I think it's growing and growing and growing, and it stretches out all around New Zealand. So there's tens of thousands of people around the country that are protesting Groundswell on behalf of the farmers. I think now they're going to go down towards the airport and then they're going to do 4 laps of the Beeley Ave, of the 4 Abs, just so that everyone can get a visual representation of what's going on. So people that are sitting in town can start to understand the impact that this has had on farmers and how unhappy this community is with what's been going on.
Good afternoon, Christchurch. Good afternoon, Canterbury. Welcome to the mother of all places. Isn't it great to see a peaceful and patriotic protest following all the rules, but sending a clear message that they want democracy, they want to be heard, and they want to stop to the avalanche of regulations that this government rains down on our rural sector. You know, I really hoped after rural New Zealand fed the country and the world through the lockdown last year that some of the recognition that urban New Zealand has given rural would filter through into the policy making of the Jacinda Ardern government. What I didn't realise is that when this government said it would unite New Zealand, it managed to unite urban and rural against the government. You know, this is no longer a urban versus rural divide, it is a New Zealand versus government divide. This Three Waters policy is a solution going looking for a problem. And that's not to say there isn't a problem with Three Waters. For too long this country has underinvested in infrastructure. That much is true. But what is proposed is unwieldy, unaccountable, undemocratic, and ultimately will not mean that New Zealanders get cleaner water in the tap or sewage taken away in a more environmentally friendly manner. What it will mean is that when you have a problem with your Three Waters, you're governed by somebody hundreds, perhaps thousands of kilometres away. You'd be better off calling Ghostbusters than the new Three Waters governance entity when you have a problem. And when it comes to the pace of change and the lack of democracy rushing through this legislation. We should be listening to people and working together to solve this problem. Rather than dividing people and dividing money, what we should be doing is uniting New Zealanders behind better ideas for a better tomorrow. That's actually the vision that Jacinda Ardern promised New Zealand, but has not delivered. And the problem with our Prime Minister is that she is, I believe, a genuinely kind person. She genuinely wants to help every single person that she meets. The problem is she's never met a person that she knows how to help. She may well have a sorted out of sales, but there's something gone wrong in delivery. And that's the problem. Folks, I want to pay tribute to all of you for getting out here today. I think you're doing a great job. It's a peaceful, patriotic and democratic protest, and we will be standing up for you, and actually we're starting to win. And people in despair, have a look at those polls. You know, not so long ago, there was a 25% gap between left and right in the polls. Today, that gap is down to 8%, and I predict that next year, with the support of people who've had enough of an unaccountable and undemocratic government, the right will actually overtake the left in the polls. And that is frankly because ACT has had such a large increase in support, and I know from talking to people here that some of that is because of people right here at this meeting changing your support to ACT. So thank you very much. And together we're not only going to change the government, but actually change the direction of New Zealand. Thank you very much to the organisers of the Mother of All protest, and for everyone who's shown up for a peaceful, democratic protest. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Any noise is good noise. What I really see is when we go on the farm sites and see the stress they're under, and it's totally inappropriate. They shouldn't be under that. And this is what this is about. It's too much regulation. It's things like they say to you, plant out your waterways. The farmers have planted 30,000 kilometres of fencing around waterways, and then the government says actually we want them further back, which is really easy on a bit of paper. But you imagine the farmers that's taking all the wire off, pulling all the posts out, resetting it back, and that's why you're busy doing everything else. I mean, that's just one, but it's continual loading them with regulations that they're struggling to do while they're trying to produce good food for the rest of the world as well.
I recently spoke with one of the farmers that's heading up this organisation, and he said that they've had to cull 10,000 cows just to fall in line with their carbon tax bill. So what this is doing is horrible for farmers. They have put their life and soul into these animals. They care about what goes on. They do want to clean up the rivers, and he said exactly that. He said we're more than happy to look after the environment, but it needs to be done in a democratic way. And the fact that that's not happening is such a concern, and it does need to change.
We went to agricultural field days and there were farmers coming in shaking, and they didn't want to say they were farmers, and they've been demonised, and that's heartbreaking because these are people that work their guts out. And so what it is the government actually treating them like they are lepers, like they're second-class citizens, like they're destroying the planet, which is further from the truth, because they are totally reliant on the land to make their living. You know, and I know farmers, and I've met farmers that are putting areas of bush into the Queen's chain. They're setting it aside, they're fencing it off, they're securing it. How many people do that in their backyard? Farmers are looking after the environment, most of them. There's always obviously a few lemons, They are doing their very best to, and yet the government keeps treating them like some sort of scumbuckets, and they're really not. And that's the hard thing for them. And they think that they're hated by the rest of New Zealand because of what the government says about them, and that's just wrong. The government, if you want people to achieve, you work with them, don't you? You don't just tell them you go and do this. You actually help them to achieve, and that's what the government hasn't done. We need to help them to achieve. We need to give them the tools to achieve, and we need to recognise the good that they're already doing. That's how you make people feel valued and important.
David Seymour was here. He jumped up on a tractor, he gave a wee speech, and part of what he said is that he thinks that Jacinda is actually a really kind and really loving person, and obviously some of what's happened at the moment is just, you know, a bit unfortunate. What do you think about the statements that he made, and do you think David Seymour is really here for farmers when it counts?
Look, you just got to look at the evidence, what's kind. And if I don't know, we don't have to digress too much, but elderly people locked up and not allowed to have their family when they're dying, that's not kind. Health workers losing their jobs in the middle of a health pandemic, that is not kind. We met a lady last week who's had a 3-year-old Down syndrome child who is deaf, and then she was told she wasn't allowed to go to the clinic where they get help. I've spoken to people that have had appointments they waited years for with a specialist, and they're told they cannot go because they haven't been vaccinated. None of that is kind, none of that is caring. When you put too much rules on people so they can't see a way out of it, that is not kind. When you say to people you can't buy a new ute unless it's an EV or we're going to tax you more, that is not kind. There's nothing kind about this because you're not looking to the needs of the people. What are the needs of people? It's a relationship. They actually need good, healthy relationships, and to do that they need to be in community. So isolating people is the opposite of looking after them. You isolate people, you damage their mental health, you destroy their lives. Get them in community, you give them hope. And what we need to do is give people hope that there's a better future. And in all honesty, if you've got a story that needs to be told, if you've been really hurt by some of the mandates, if you've been really hurt by what the rules have come out in your farming and your business or anything like that, you need to get your story out there. You can contact us on Messenger, Leighton Baker on Messenger. You can send me an email if you want, nzabuseofpower@gmail.com. But please get in touch with someone, don't hold it inside. The biggest thing we found actually talking to people at the moment is people just want to be connected. And the people that are struggling, the people that are losing their jobs, the people that are losing their homes, want to be able to talk to someone else in the same situation that actually will listen and care and can do something. So please, don't hold it in, get in touch with someone and have a chat, because talking about it makes all the difference.